So now let's talk about you. You do woodworking. Is it mostly like a hobby, or do you do it all? Like, do you sell any of your products?
Long time ago, I used to sell stuff, but now really the only way to get something for me is as a gift. I just do it for fun and out of necessity around the house.
Just kind of getting out into your wood shop and having fun.
Yeah, when I was much younger, a teenager, I was trying to do woodworking as a profession. Well, I was doing home improvement, woodworking, a couple different things,
Yeah.
construction, and an old woodworker who was kind of a mentor of mine just put his hand on my shoulder one day and said, "You really need to find a job to support your hobby." And kind of stuck because I mean, I was living at home, I wasn't making a lot of money with woodworking, and that was okay because I was, living at home.
Yeah.
But little by little, I started to get out of the woodworking profession, and eventually ended up going active duty with the Army, and that became my full-time job for quite a while. And now I just do it for fun. I've always loved it, but it's just it's not as much fun when I have to do it for a paycheck, I think.
Yeah, I understand. So you started that about 2 years ago, your YouTube videos?
Yeah, 2 or 3 maybe. Yeah.
3 now. You said 2018. What made you start recording videos for it?
Well, I had another YouTube channel many years ago. Not many, 5, 10, maybe it is many. What is happening? Time's going by. It didn't do so well. I mean, it was just, just something I tried out for fun. But I have always kind of enjoyed teaching and training. I was a trainer with the military for a while. I've done it in my my normal full-time job once in a while as well. And and I learned a lot from other woodworkers growing up. I didn't go to a trade school or anything. I had books and mentors, so I got what I could from them, and I always appreciated getting some good knowledge from other people. And several years ago, I just started thinking, well, I got a little free time on my hands. Maybe I should give it up and put some stuff online. So I started out probably, I think 2017 or 18, and didn't get a lot of traffic at first, except for a few odds and ends. I think my first really popular video was modifying a Harbor Freight dust collection system. Just because I had a different design that nobody else had published yet, at least I don't think.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's really what I'm shooting for. I think with the channel is some innovative stuff. In fact, I have something on my desk in front of me here that I'm either going to get patented or make a video about. But I like to come up with new ideas to solve problems.
It's interesting. So you started when you were very young, and then you stopped for a while. What made you restart doing woodworking?
Well, I never really completely stopped. I just I spent a lot of time overseas, and for several years I was just back and forth. And I also bought a fixer-upper house, and that was a real learning experience for me. I mean, the house was just completely torn apart. It was a really good price on it, but I came back from my first overseas trip and had a little bit of money saved up. So I got a house that I could afford, and then started to do repairs that I couldn't afford over the course of many years. And that sort of took me away from woodworking for a while, because I was working on more maintenance repairs, construction type stuff, landscaping. But I had a full woodworking shop there, and I cut my own door moldings instead of buying the pre-framed doors and the with the finger joints and everything in the hardware store. I cleared out a lot of trees, so I started to saw a little bit of my own lumber, which I used to do that when I was younger too. I did some custom cabinetry in the house. Like the bathroom cabinets are all custom made. Purple Heart mantle in the dining room, and I wanted to build all the kitchen cabinets, but I never pulled that off. So I think that kind of distracted me from woodworking for a while. Then we moved from North Carolina to Virginia, and got another house that needed a little bit of work, and it's kind of how it always goes.
Yeah.
So I try to find time for it when I can. We were renting in the old house for a while and finally shook that thing off. So that's freed up a little time. And I retired from the Army last year as well in 2020. Army reserves at that point. I switched from active to reserve maybe 10 years ago to try to get a little bit of my time back. So with getting rid of the rental property and retiring, I want to think that I will have more free time now.
You would
But
think.
we also got a 2-year-old, so almost 2-year-old. So
You
there
don't
goes
have
my
any
free
free
time.
time.
Exactly.
So I was checking out your Instagram, and you do a lot of like really, it's like art, really. I mean, your bowls and your cat doors and your toothbrush holder is beautiful. I want one so bad. I never
That
thought a
was fun.
toothbrush holder is beautiful, but it really is. So what makes you lean more towards that kind of stuff? Like small and artistic, I feel like.
I think maybe let's see, a long time ago, I used to try to sell stuff on like Etsy. Well, before that, before Etsy was even a thing, I was trying to sell stuff at a farmer's market once in a while,
Mhm,
and even like yard sales, just real small time stuff.
mhm.
And the smaller projects were manageable. I mean, there was a time where all I had was a little bit of pine in the garage, and most of it was stuff that I stole off my dad's shelves from the house, and I replaced with like a piece of scrap wood I found outside or something. Uh, wood's kind of expensive, so I didn't have a lot of,
Mm,
maybe buy like a 1x3 of some kind of exotic wood if I happen to make it into woodcraft in the city.
mm.
Uh, and I wanted to stretch that as far as I could. So all those little pieces of scrap wood had to be turned into something. Otherwise, I was throwing out something that I saved up money to buy. And now I have more wood that I can really deal with because I saw more of my own lumber right now.
Mhm.
But I still like doing the small projects. They're fun for gifts. I'm not trying to really make anything off it, so I don't want to invest too much in something that's going to eat up space. But I'll build a little thing, throw it up on the shelf, and if I don't get around to finishing it, I'll put it in a box somewhere. I
Yeah,
probably have about 30 or 40 partially finished like blanks that I've glued up, or little
yeah,
bottles or candle holders or something in boxes in the garage. One day I'll get to it.
yeah. Ready to go.
Hmm.
So you're still just, will you ever sell again, do you think? Like any of those things?
Uh, Probably not. I mean, I've thought about it, but no, I don't have the time really to sell it,
Yeah.
and I'd rather once in a while, if a family member asks for something, I'll give it to them like dirt cheap, for a little bit, just to cover some basic expenses like wood, that kind of stuff. But not enough to really make a profit off of, cover shipping costs.
Mhm.
But I think I would rather give stuff away than sell it. It's more fun for me that way, and it's a bit more fun for everybody else, I think, too.
Yeah. I really like your cat doors. Where did you come up with that idea?
Thank you. Yeah, well, one of them, let's see. I got,
You got a cat?
there we go.
Oh, a
No,
cat.
well, that's it's
Oh my
the
God.
baby gate
That is
with cat
beautiful.
door. In fact, I just, let's see if I can move my camera without it coming off. I just replaced these with, or added some nylon
Oh,
spacers in there for better
that
for
is so
better
fun.
spin. Um, but yeah, it's got the hole in the bottom for the cats to run through, and that way my boy can run over during the day and spin shapes. And
Mhm.
now he's starting to try to climb it, which is a little distracting. But
Yeah.
I just look at it for a while and keep thinking and playing around with some different designs, and then eventually something makes sense.
Yeah.
I needed something to for to solve a specific problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the fun part of it, is inventing new things.
Yeah. You're very good at that. You're very creative.
Thank you.
So let's see. Oh, the cat door. So the SHELIX head video, you posted two videos. You did one with just the power test.
Well, I think I'm with most woodworkers in that we kind of want to follow the rules with certain things. So when we hear we got a 15 amp circuit breaker or a 20 amp circuit breaker in the wall, we don't want to plug in more than 20 amps because that's the limit and it'll trip it. So I switched over to the SHELIX, and I had some comments on there about how this thing is going to it's going to wear out the motor and kill your planer early. So I decided to do some testing on the power, and it just blew me away that if you have a 20 amp circuit breaker, that when I was running that planer with the SHELIX head in there for a full width hardwood board, it was running almost double the capacity or the listed capacity of that circuit breaker. So I mean, it was surprising to me. So I went out and bought another. In fact, I tried two different meters to test the power, and it turns out it just eats a lot more power than any of us really knew. Maybe DeWalt knew, I don't know. But I think for most people who own that thing, it doesn't trip the breaker, so you assume it's not going over 20. It's just an assumption that you make. But what's actually happening is, I think the best way to describe it is it's kind of like touching something hot. If you grab a hot cup, you might hold it for a few seconds and pull your hand away. If you touch a hot burner on a stove, you're going to immediately pull your hand away. And circuit breakers work with it's like a bimetal strip. So there are two different kinds of metal in there, and when they get heated up, it'll make it, they expand and contract differently. I'm probably making this more boring than it needs to be, but so the breaker heats up when it's under load and will eventually trip. So there's no, we think in terms of 20 amp limits, but there is no limit that the breaker is aware of that has to do with any kind of number. It's just, as it gets hotter, that bimetal strip is going to bend and eventually trip it. So, yeah, it was just going way over, and a bunch of people commented and said, you got to be doing something wrong. There's no way, because 20 is the limit. And if you go over that, it trips. That's what I thought too. So I ended up doing several follow-ups on that just to prove that I'm not crazy, that I measured it correctly. I did one with 2 different meters, 2 different planers, different kinds of wood. I have a couple of videos that I didn't even publish publicly just because people ask questions, and I'd do just a quick recording with a different piece of wood and send them a link to the video. And I think I've kind of established now, hopefully, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it really draws a lot of power in that planer, but somehow the breaker just keeps going.
So it just keeps going. Okay. I was curious if that would cause a problem, because you've used it for what, at least a couple years now? You got it in 2019, I think you said.
Yeah. I think it was after last Christmas that I put the SHELIX head in. I've had the planer for 4 years. And it's kind of open to debate. I don't know if it can really prove wear on the motor or disprove it. If the planer dies, okay, but I don't. It's going to be based on heat. If the motor overheats, it'll wear faster. But there's also a breaker in the planer that it's the same thing. It's well, I haven't cracked it open. Actually, I bought some extra ones that I've been intending to open up to do another video. I'm pretty sure it's just a bimetal strip in there that's also going to bend as it gets too hot, and that should protect the motor from getting burned up. I don't know. I think this is something that we're just going to have questions about for a while.
It's still running good though.
Oh yeah. I don't, for a hobby woodworker especially, I really don't think that I'm going to burn that thing up with or without the SHELIX. And for somebody who's beyond a hobby woodworker, who's like planing lumber all the time, a portable lightweight planer like that probably isn't the right tool for it. You really want to get something with an induction motor at that point that's designed for continual operation. But I mean, I'm sure you'd still get several years out of a portable planer too. If you're running a lumber yard or something using a portable planer, okay, you got to spend $500 or so every 3 or 4 years. That's not probably too bad of an expense.
Yeah. So what do you think about the SHELIX? Do you still use it? Is it your go-to, or do you go back and forth with the straight knife? Because I know you have 2 planers.
Put the other one under my workbench.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just use the SHELIX.
Awesome.
I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with it. Um,
Oh,
and part of the reason, if I'm going to use the newer one, like make that my new planer just because it's a newer model, I would probably want to get a helical cutter head in there as well. Well, I definitely don't want to go back to straight knives because I tear them up too quickly.
yeah.
I could probably be more careful, but that's not as fun. I like to just,
Yeah.
use my stuff and enjoy myself. Um, but yeah, I want to find something to do with one of those planers, and I'm pretty sure that I'm done doing side-by-side comparisons.
You love the SHELIX compared to the straight knives, pretty much
Yeah. Yeah.
overall.
I just, yeah, you can get a pretty nice cut, a real nice finish with steel knives. You could also get a really nice finish with a steel table saw blade. Like, I don't know if you know what a hollow ground planer blade is. That's an old thing. It was a table saw blade that didn't have any set in the teeth. It was just a straight blade, but then they ground it a little bit narrower on the plate so that it wasn't rubbing against the wood. And it's called a hollow ground planer, and it's really fine cutting steel blade. So yeah, you can get a very sharp edge on steel and a table saw blade or a thickness planer, but it just doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
And also, especially once it starts to get a little bit dull, it was just tearing out chunks of like figured maple and oddball pieces that I pulled out of the ground that were just covered in dirt. Like pull spalted maple out of the ground, literally covered in dirt, and run it through the planer. Even if you pressure wash it, it's still going to be
Yeah.
just an absolute mess. So definitely sticking with the SHELIX head.
It's good to hear. What do you enjoy most about woodworking? Why do you love it?
Oh, that's a tough question, but I think that it maybe changed over the years. I like to build stuff. I mean, whether it's in the workshop, small projects, I do a little bit of computer work, website development type stuff. Uh, whatever it is, I like to make things and make them cool or make them useful. And I think in more recent years, I enjoy giving those things to other people a lot more as well.
Mhm.
I used to have just shelves filled with little projects in the house, things that I used to try to sell at the farmer's market or Etsy or whatever. And several years ago, I just started giving them away. I was like, man, I'm enjoying this stuff here and nobody else sees it. I already know what I can make, so I don't need to keep it here for myself. So I just started sending out some presents here and there. Not Christmas time, just middle of the year, and people aren't expecting presents. And it was just kind of fun. Gave everybody a smile. I'm gonna do it again this year. I got a bunch of stuff I've been working on that got to finish up. And middle of the year, I'm gonna send out some presents. It's it's nice to make something and give it to somebody else and make them smile.
Well, I'm going to send you my address. I expected the cat door.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
You need a cat as well, or?
I've got a cat.
All right. All right. They're tough to pack up, but I think we got some extras around here.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for serving our country.
Thank you.
If you would like to see more of Ben's videos, you can find him on YouTube and Instagram at The Snekker Show, and it will show all of his videos, tutorials, and all of his projects that he's made in the past. You can also visit us at Byrd Tool Experts for all your SHELIX head and Byrd Tool product needs.